Good morning, children. How are you? I hope you have started studying. In the previous class, we have discussed about South Africa. Do you remember which policy we discussed? We discussed apartheid policy of South Africa. Apartheid means the discrimination on the basis of race, and we know very well that in South Africa there was discrimination between blacks and whites, and it was Nelson Mandela only who fought for it. Though he got prisoned, he was in prison for 28 long years, but he never gave up. He continuously fought for it, and one fine day in 1964, he was successful in framing the Constitution which was based on equality and no segregation of any of the race was there. He framed the Constitution which consists of blacks, whites and even colored people. So this was all we studied in the previous class. Today we are going to study the remaining half of the chapter. The name of the chapter, again I'll be telling you, is Constitutional Design. But today we'll be studying about Indian Constitution. How Indian Constitution was framed. Who were the makers? How many members were there? And how long did it take to frame the Constitution? And finally, we'll be studying the Preamble of the Constitution. So let's start with our explanation. So children, let's start first with the meaning of Constitution. What does Constitution mean? It is a supreme law of the country containing fundamental rules governing policies for the society in a country. Now, can you guess why this Constitution is important for the country? Yes, there are lots of importance of the Constitution for our country. Why? Because it is based on trust and coordination. It specifies how the government will be constituted, that how the government will be formed, and who will have the power to frame the government and to take the decisions. Then it also provides its citizens with the different rights and duties. And one of the main thing is it limits the power of government and tells about the rights as well as the duties of its citizens. And last but not the least, it frames a very good society, a society in which everybody's opinion, thinking, rights and duties, everything is taken into consideration and none of the groups are left alone. Can you see these two maps, children? What is the difference between these two maps? Can you guess? Can you find out? This map, it is of the year 1945, and this map shows the British India, that is India at the time of Britishers. India when it is governed by the British, when it had the princely states, but not our Indian states. And this map is of a typical Indian, of a typical India, that is after the independence, after India got independence in the year 1947, when it was divided into different states, union territories. Now, the biggest problem which came in the eyes of the leaders in free India was making of the Indian Constitution. It was really a very difficult and tough task. Why it was so difficult to frame constitution, children? Yes, because India is a diverse country having so many different region, religion, tradition, culture, different things, different people in our country. So making of the Indian constitution was really a tough job. And the leaders, they have to face a lot of problems while making Indian constitution. As I have told you just now, I'll recall again, India was huge and diverse country, and it was divided on the basis of religions, regions, and the merger of princely states with India or Pakistan or to remain independent was really very difficult to decide. And the future of the country was not so much secure to make constitution, because while framing the constitution they have to think about the future of the country. Now the path to constitution, that is the first step for framing the constitution. In 1928, Motilal Nehru and 8 other Congress leaders, they drafted the constitution. And in 1931, a resolution at Karachi was made, and in that resolution it was decided that what Indian constitution should look like and what the special features should be included in it. So what were the 3 main features decided were? Universal adult franchise, means that every Indian who is of 21 years and above, they should have the right to vote. Then second feature was right to freedom and equality. Everybody should have the freedom to do whatever he or she likes, and everyone should be treated equally in the eyes of law. And the third main feature was to protect the rights of minorities. As you all know, children, that our country possesses minorities as well as majorities, and also many educated Indians, they were familiarized with the political and legislative institution during the colonial rule. That is, they were very much familiar with the functioning of the government. And then years of thinking and deliberation, that is the hard work on the framework of the constitution, it had given another benefit for the leaders. What was the benefit? Finally, in the year 1946, the Constituent Assembly was framed, and the drafting of the constitution was done by an assembly of elected representatives. Do you know, children, how many members were there in this Constituent Assembly? There were 299 members, and these 3 features which I have discussed with you in the previous slide, they were given due importance while framing the constitution. And what do you see, children, in this picture? Who are all these people? This is given in your textbook also. You can go through it in detail. These are the few members of the Constituent Assembly of India. It is given in detail in your book, in your civics book. You can go through it. And the assembly was dominated by the Indian National Congress, but it has many non-Congress members also. And the constitution doesn't reflect the views of its members alone. It expresses the aspiration of all the people, that is, all the people's thought, all the people's aspiration, all the people's thinking, beliefs, everything was taken into consideration while the constitution was framed. Now, how these members they were elected? You might be wondering that the Constituent Assembly was framed. There were 299 members. How these members were elected? Now, what type of elections were done? Elections, they were held in July 1946, and the first meeting of its members held in December 1946. Afterwards, the country got freedom and India was divided into India and Pakistan. And the Constituent Assembly that wrote the Indian Constitution had 299 members, as I have told you right now, and its chairman was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and he prepared a draft constitution for discussion. That is, a rough constitution was framed and discussion was held clause by clause, every point by point, and which had several rounds of discussion. And the assembly finally adopted the constitution on 26th of November 1949, and everybody knows that this constitution came into effect on 26th January 1950. Now the problem arises, why should we accept this constitution? Though it was made long 64 years back, why each and every Indian should accept this constitution? So the answer to this question is, over the last 64 years, no large group, whether it is a social or political party, has ever questioned, has ever raised the question on the legitimacy, on the reliability of the constitution. Why? Because Constituent Assembly represented the people of India. No universal adult franchise but fair geographical share of members was there from all the regions of the country. And this assembly represented members from different language groups, castes, classes, religion and occupation. And finally, the Constituent Assembly worked in a systematic, open and consensual manner. And these are the three main guiding values of our Indian Constitution. First is, we can understand the Constitution of India through two ways. First, by reading the views of some major leaders on Constitution, and second, by understanding what the Constitution says about its own philosophy. So, in a nutshell, we can say that this Constitution, everybody's views, major leaders, even common people, their views, their ideas were taken into consideration. And by understanding what the Constitution says about its own philosophy. Children, as you can see in this picture, this is the Constitution of India, the book, and this is the preamble to the Constitution of India. In the introduction of the class, I have told you about the preamble. Can you guess what is preamble? I know you might be knowing it because you have studied in the previous class. Preamble is the opening version of the Constitution. It is the cover page of a book of Constitution, which starts with the "We the people of India." This again, it is given in your textbook of Civics. You can go through it and read it thoroughly. So now, what are the characteristics of a Constitution? It is very long and detailed document, and it is amended quite regularly to keep updated, and it lays down a procedure for choosing person to govern the country. That is, it gives the procedure for the election after every 5 years to choose the leader who will govern the country. And it also defines, it also mentions how much power has to be given to its rulers, to its government, and it puts limits to the powers of the government by providing some rights to the citizen and if these rights are violated, they can be punished by the court. So that is all for today, children. I hope till now you are very much familiar with the Constitution of South Africa as well as the Constitution of India. Stay home, children, stay safe, be healthy, fit and fine. Thank you. Have a good day.